and welcome to another episode of Coffee with a Kick at Night, I've decided to say. I'm Xander, he's Keegan, and we are here for Matchday 16. Some real big ones here. Well, there is a real big one, shockingly, that we have to cover this weekend. Two of them are pretty big. But I think there's no preamble needed here. You can check out our episode tomorrow morning for our recap of what just happened this midweek. A lot of strange tidings, I'll say, just to titillate your appetite. It's a real word. You can look it up. Okay. Anyway, we'll go ahead. Do you have anything to say before we start? Let me give you a second to kid in here.
Not titillating, that's for sure.
Nothing titillating? All right. Well, then we will get into, excuse me, our Saturday action, starting off with Crystal Palace at 7:30, hosting Liverpool.
Yeah, I like this matchup for Crystal Palace. I
Really?
think Liverpool, they kind of feel like the last couple of results haven't been as dominant as they might wish. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I like it. It's at Selhurst Park. Crystal Palace needs something from this game to feel like they're going to not go into the dark winter. So I'm thinking 1-1 draw.
I mean, they'll take it. They've only got 1 point out of their last 4 here. Haven't won since they played Burnley before Burnley discovered itself back in early November. So it's been over a month since their last win. So Crystal Palace does need something. I don't think it happens. I was not impressed with their midweek performance at all. I think that they take it on the chin here, 3-0 to Liverpool. I think Liverpool takes advantage of the advantages that it takes advantage of their advantages. That's what I'm gonna say. That's real clever. Not titillating. But I think this one's a pretty cut and dry for Liverpool going into Selhurst Park in London and taking care of business. Anyway, that brings us on to Brighton hosting Burnley, a match I would have expected much from a month ago, but Burnley is looking better in recent weeks. Not great, but definitely better. They're not in 20th anymore. And Brighton has come back to life a little bit. They handled their match in the midweek pretty well. I think I'm going to go to it. I picked it for last midweek. It almost paid off totally, but not quite. 3-1 Brighton Hove Albion at the Amex. I just think Mitoma's looking good and fresh, and he plays all over the field, and I think he'll come through for them against Brentford.
Yeah, I am going to go 3-3. I think it'll be a high-scoring match. Burnley seems to have found their goal scoring for once. Mm-hmm. And both teams really want possession, so I think they're going to struggle with who gets it for how long. So I think 3-3. I think there'll be lots of goals. I mean,
it's Brighton, so both teams are going to score. Like, you could just take that to the bank. And probably you can take that. I'm not going to do that. But yeah, both teams are going to score. Because it's
take that over 2.5, baby.
Take the over 2.5 goals. Definitely take it. Parlay it with both teams to score. Do it. All of our gambling advice comes without any sort of expertise or experience. I don't know what sort of disclaimers.
We will not be held liable for any sort of.
We will not be held liable for any losses incurred based on VAR
or emotionally.
Yeah. Absolutely. To a pivotal match here for Manchester United and Bournemouth. Both teams suddenly on the upswing from where they had been previously in the season. I'm interested in this one because Bournemouth has come out of nowhere in the last couple of weeks here and really figured it out after being rather abysmal earlier on. Losing 6-1 to City is not great. I don't know if you know that, but it's not great. I think that Manchester United, their midweek result was, good. You'll take a win whenever you can get it, but I don't think it was. It was against. Neither side looked like they were going to do much outside of that match. I feel like this one's crazy. It's Bournemouth 4-1. just they've figured it out, and I think it keeps on rolling against Manchester United.
Wow, 4-1.
Yeah.
I have it more modest at a 2-1. Yeah, you're right. I think Man U, they got the win, but when Scott McTominay is scoring your 2 goals in midweek, it's not looking good for your attack.
Yeah.
So I think Bournemouth, yeah, you're right. I think they keep it rolling. They need to keep it rolling, probably more so than Man U in terms of positioning on the table. So I think 2-1, they get the win at Old Trafford.
Yeah. I think that's good. I mean, Ten Hag bought himself a few more matches before he gets sacked. We'll see what happens in next midweek when they go to the Champions League. I think that'll be a big deciding factor there. But we'll see what happens going forward. That takes us down to good old Sheffield with Bramall Lane. Sheffield United versus Brentford. Boy, does Brentford need this one, huh? Boy, does Brentford need a little bit of help here. They were pretty well handled, I thought, by Brighton. And they've been really up and down the past couple weeks. I mean, literally, they've win, loss, win, loss, win, loss. It's been interchanging, aside from a loss on either side of the international break. But Sheffield just, minus 30 goal difference, guys. That's not good. 5 points out of 15 matches. That's worse. Okay?
Yeah.
I think it ends up being pretty boring because Brentford knows they need these points. I think it's 1-0 that Brentford, they trudge along, they get a goal, and they kind of settle in and just say, listen, Sheffield doesn't have that much going for it in attack. If we can just concentrate, and not slip up, we can get out of here with an easy 3, even if it's only 1 goal.
Yeah, I could see Sheffield trying to go after this one because they could see that Brentford, they're kind of reeling from a couple of not so great results. So it wouldn't shock me if Sheffield kind of go after it and they get caught on the counters. So I'm going to go 3-0 Brentford.
Wow.
I think Sheffield knows they also need to start getting points to have any sort of chance to not be relegated by Christmas. To be honest, the math may not be there, but
the math may not be there, but the gist is there.
They're relegated.
Yeah. It's
so I think 3-0.
Oh, you have to win 7 matches with most of them being away matches against the top half of the table. I don't think that's happening for you, Sheffield. That's pure speculation. I don't know what their schedule looks like for the back half. I have not memorized Sheffield United's schedule for the second half of the season. So take that with a grain of salt. Why don't you? I think that's. Sheffield United doesn't usually have a chance, and I think that continues on this one. Then to Molineux, 10 o'clock, my Wolves host Nottingham Forest. How do you have this one heading out?
Yeah, I think Nottingham, not such a great recent string of results. And I think Wolves have been consistent. So I think it's another 1-0 victory for Wolves. I think Nottingham...
Another trudgery. Great.
Yeah, Nottingham have lost it over the last month.
Yeah, they started off so promising. 4 straight losses since they beat Aston Villa 2-0 back in November. That's a crazy looking result now. But the midweek, criminy, that one was tough. Did not see that coming. Even with how Fulham had done in the weekend, I did not see that result that we will do tomorrow coming. I've got this with a little bit more verve in the match. It's a 2-1 victory for my Wolves. Maybe we get one from Cunha and Hwang in this. I think Cunha's stepped up pretty well since Neto's come down. He was a little bit too uncontained. He actually reminded me a lot of Traore in the first part of the season, where really fast, but his touch just wasn't there. He's kind of settled into his positioning a little bit better, and he still has those moments where you're like, well, come on, Cunha. But I think he's come into his role since Neto's dropped out and helped solidify our attack a bit. It's still not great up there, but it's efficient. It's reliable. We can get goals. We haven't been. When's the last time we didn't score? Which is crazy considering how bad we were on offense last season. I'll check it later on. But we've not been held goalless in at least since early November. Yeah. How do you have? While you're talking, I'll look it up.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully, like I said, Wolves. I think they'll get 1-0. Hopefully.
Oh, that's right. You did say
keep that consistency.
I meant to set you up for the next one. The big match. Aston Villa versus Arsenal 1v3. Right? Yes.
City were a little bit lacking in reserves, so that didn't help when it came to our game. But Aston Villa, they played well. I mean, they were not afraid to attack. They weren't afraid to defend.
We're doing a recap tomorrow. Save it for that.
Yeah, well, it matters because I think Arsenal won't. If Aston Villa is physical, just like they were against City, I don't think Arsenal's going to have an answer. I have it 2-0 Aston Villa.
Wow. Yeah. Just a little bit preview. I mean, with how rocking it was against City in the midweek, it's probably going to be just as amped, considering that this is a chance for them to go. Theoretically, they could go 2. I think it would come down to goal difference. I don't have the table in front of me at the moment. There it is. Let's see. Can they get up to 2? Yeah, they could get 2. If Liverpool draws or loses, if Liverpool loses, they could get to 2. If they draw, probably not, because Liverpool's got 6 goal difference on them. So this could put Aston Villa in 2 technically, within a game of first, which is quite an impressive result, considering that I did not have high hopes for them going into the season. I have it as a 2-2 draw. A very exciting match, 2-2 draw. My Wolves have scored in every game since the first one.
Wow. I mean, they might be the goal machines of the Premier League this year.
I mean, it's mostly like 1 goal, but still not being held scoreless since that. That's definitely impressive. Yeah, so 2-2 for Arsenal, Aston Villa for me. And then we move to one that I'm not looking forward to. Everton and Chelsea. I think this one's a dud. I've got it as a 0-0 draw on Sunday morning.
Yeah, I think I have it 1-1. I agree with you. I think it'll be Aston Villa don't want to lose. Chelsea don't seem to want to win any games against non-big clubs. Like if they're playing top 4, top 5 teams, it seems like they want to win. Outside of that, it's like, yeah, we don't really care too much. So I think 1-1.
Yeah, I don't think it has the prospects of being a very interesting match. Everton's still somewhat reeling from their point deduction. I think they'll be able to crawl out of the relegation zone by the end of the season, but it's gonna be a long slog for them. And then we go to a London derby, another London derby. They happen almost every week, essentially, every other week. Fulham hosts West Ham United at Craven Cottage. Fulham have found their stride in the past couple weeks since the international break, scoring 3 goals, and 5 goals respectively across those 3 matches. And West Ham they've produced decently since the international break. That draw against Crystal Palace on Sunday was fine. How do you have this one going?
That's a good question because
yeah,
I only thought about it like an hour ago, and I was like, I could go draw. I could go one team winning by 3, the other team. I just don't even know who's going to show up, how they're going to show up. I'm going to go with the hot hand and go 2-1 Fulham. But this is one of those games where you're like, I'm not sure really what's going to happen. Because Fulham's not the better team, but beating a team 5-0 midweek is impressive. Like, that's top of the table type stuff. So, they
were toe-to-toe with Liverpool. I mean, that was a crazy match on Sunday. So,
I think unconfident 2-1 Fulham win.
2-1 Fulham. Well, speaking of ties and 3 goals, I've got it as a 3-3 6-goal thriller here.
Oh, wow.
At Craven Cottage.
Just because he comes back just for the fun of it, scores a goal.
There you go. Clint, boy, he is old now. Yeah, he hops out of the commentary stand and runs down and gets himself a goal. That'd be crazy. And definitely out of character for their matches. But I think it's 3-3. I'm just looking for goals, looking for a fun time because Fulham's frisky all of a sudden. And then to something very needed. Manchester City, it goes to Kenilworth Road in Luton and takes on Lutontown. A welcome reprieve for the citizens. I've got it as 4-0 just because I think they're gonna try to murder Luton. I think they're angry.
Yeah, I mean, Luton at home haven't been bad. I have it as 3-0. I think they'll put up a fight. But yeah, I mean, City, when we don't have the full scope of our wingers, it seems like we just can't get it going. I mean, whenever De Bruyne comes back, that'll be fixed because we'll have that creativity in the midfield. But yeah, without Grealish and Doku, we just looked flat in the midweek. So
yeah,
I think we'll be fine at Luton, obviously, but still concerning.
There was way too much deep involvement with your defenders there in the midweek.
Mm-hmm.
Just
yeah.
Anytime that you're really relying on, I almost said Kulishevsky, Kovacic, right?
Kovacic.
Yeah. Anytime you're really relying on Kovacic to be like instrumental on your attack, I think you've got some issues. I think you got some issues around there. Yeah. So I think luckily it's Luton. Luckily you catch Luton. Yeah. Although with you've already got Champions League settled up, so this is the best time to catch Luton because you can put your guys in there and then give them the midweek off. We might even see Erling Haaland in the Champions League match against Fed.
I don't know. He likes to score in the Champions League. He'll probably play and score a few goals.
He is one of those guys who's like, listen, I like playing soccer. I will always play soccer if you give me the choice. Yeah. And seems almost indefatigable, you know. He's always going. He plays all 90 a lot of the time, and you don't always see that from strikers, especially with as much forward action as he produces. So good on him. And then the other big match for the weekend, Spurs host Newcastle at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium in London. I've got this one as a very cautious 1-1 draw, and I think both sides feel like they settle in a little bit. It'll be disappointing for Newcastle. They've won their last 2, but I think Tottenham will like the stability of getting points out of this. They've been very poor after starting off so hot at the beginning of the season. They've definitely cooled off, and they did not get any sort of push, any sort of bounce out of the international break. So I think it's a 1-1 draw, and they're both like, okay, that's fine. Newcastle's like, listen, we've got a very important match in the midweek. We'll take a 1-1 draw. Spurs, they don't have anything going on in the midweek. They'll just be happy with the point.
April 23rd, 2023. Tottenham went into Newcastle, into St. James Park, and lost 6-1. I think that their players are going to remember that. And I think that Tottenham pulls out the win 4-1.
A little bit of a revenge game.
I think a little bit of revenge. I think Newcastle, like you mentioned, is going to be looking towards Champions League.
Yeah.
They're not going to be focused on the game at hand. Guarantee it. Why would they? If they have a chance to get Champions League group stage or knockout round, they're gonna focus on that. So I think Tottenham catches them quick and ends up winning 4-1.
Yeah, I mean, boy, it's still so congested there. Newcastle will. I mean, they'll be considered because they're still just out of Champions League contention for next season. It's just so tight all across the table there. Yeah, but 4-1, you could definitely see it. You could definitely see it. Sung scored twice on the weekend. One of them being for the wrong team, but that happens sometimes. Yeah, and that brings us to the end of the matches for Sunday. Everything fitting in on those 2 days quite nicely. And we will see how it all shakes out.
Yeah.
Go ahead and like and subscribe, because I forgot to say that earlier, if you haven't already. And check out our episode tomorrow morning for the recap of everything that's happened this midweek. And any parting words before we go? I'm just throwing stuff all over my desk.
You know, it's set to be a titillating weekend.
That's right. So titillating. Until we get there. Well, until you hear from us. Well, you'll hear from us tomorrow, obviously. But for now, why don't you go ahead and grab your coffee, watch some soccer, and we'll see you tomorrow morning. Here.